Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Williams. I do a daily look at the news in AI, and I thought I'd take a look at what's new today. Actually, I thought I might look at the video right here to ensure that it looks okay. Yep, looks good. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Let's see, we've got a few people already. I don't really have a lot of time today, so I thought I'd just get right into it. Might have to limit the number of questions at the end, just because my wife has an appointment in Seattle today, and so she's leaving at 11:30, and my daughter's here and one of her friends, so I'm watching them. So I've got to kind of be on that from 11:30 till 2 when I do a stream, and actually that friend is getting picked up at 1:45. So I got a lot of stuff going on. We'll see how this goes. And but if you have questions, throw them in the chat, and I'll try to address as we go along. Let's see what we got. So I thought this was interesting. Clearview AI. I didn't really heard of who Clearview AI was. Apparently, they look at social media, find faces, and then they create a database of these faces. Kind of sketchy, but they think they're doing good, is in their opinion. The Netherlands says, hey, this is kind of illegal in Europe. You can't do this, and they've had a ruling against the company. Apparently, the company didn't object to the decision, and so this agency went ahead and fined them 30 million euros. Plus, there's an additional piece that goes on there. The company has said, hey, the decision is unlawful, devoid of due process, and unenforceable. But, so what? Netherlands wants to sue us? No problem. We don't care about Netherlands, is what they're saying. They're basically saying, we don't have a place of business in the Netherlands or the EU. It doesn't have any customers in the Netherlands or the EU, and does not undertake any activities that would otherwise mean it's subject to the GDPR. So they're like, fine, you want to fine us for all this money? Whatever. We're not going to pay it, but that's nice. But apparently they also got in trouble in the US, but it was the Illinois lawsuit consolidated a bunch of lawsuits from all around the US, and then they settled that out of court without having Clearview having to say admit any liability or do anything. They just had to pay up some money. But it sounds like whoever is their customers pay a lot of money for these photos, so it was just kind of like cost of doing business, which is, oh man. Yeah, so they kind of got out of it by paying a lot of money, but maybe just a small fraction of what they're actually making on this, which incredible. That yeah. So anyway, that was interesting. The links to everything I talk about is going to be in the show notes. In the show notes? Are they show notes? No, they're just the description for this video. Another thing, yesterday, I showed a bunch of things, a bunch of news items, and on some of the pages there were ads, and oh my goodness, the comments, it's like, how are you not using X whatever their favorite ad blocker is? Like, I did notice, but it wasn't it's not that big a deal seeing the ads. And so I wasn't that bothered. But normally, I did like take a second because normally all those things are blocked on my machine. And so I do use uBlock Origin, although I got the notice saying it's probably not going to work at some point because it uses an old way of integrating with the browser. And then, but I also have my Pi-hole, which serves as the DNS server, DNS for my home network, and that blocks a whole lot of stuff. But without uBlock Origin, then I get these little boxes with like where it couldn't download the assets for the ad, but I still get the block for the ad. And uBlock Origin just gets rid of all those things. So yes, I do normally use it. It was off for some reason. And first time being here live. Well, welcome, Saint White. Glad to have you here. Well, I guess I could actually add that to the broadcast. Oh, maybe I can't. Yeah, well, there's nothing there. All right. Let's not show those. I'll have to fix that later. Let's see what else we got. Oh, this one I thought was cool. Let's go to here. NaNoWriMo, the a year or a monthly or every year there's NaNoWriMo where in the month of November, is it? Yeah, during the month of November, you commit to writing a 50,000 word novel, or is it just 50? Is it 50,000 words? Or you dedicate to or say that you're going to write a novel, something, and they came out saying the organization came out saying, hey, if you want to use AI tools to help write a story, great. You know, whatever we don't say that you have to, and we don't say that you can't. It's just if you want to use these tools, great. And their reason for doing so was that a lot of some writers will hire other people to do reviews of the content and maybe suggest things to make better, or work with other people to write their story. And not everyone has access to that community, or that or they don't feel comfortable sharing with a community. And you know, for grammar, or for, you know, all of these types of checks that go into and they wanted to make sure that they don't restrict access to those tools. And so they said, I'm sure we have opinions, but we don't have any official stance on this, which seems like a generally a good idea. But there are folks like the who was it that iPad drawing tool that wanted to stick its head in the sand and say AI is evil. What was his name? The Procreate guy. So we have a whole bunch of authors like that person, saying, "Oh, AI is all evil. There's nothing good about AI." The fact that you're telling people to use AI, no, they're not saying that, or that apparently this is a response to a pro-AI position. Not really pro-AI. It's just saying, if you want to use the tools, great. If you don't want to use the tools, no problem. We don't really have a requirement. And so these authors, I'm not familiar with any of these authors, but there's apparently a bunch of authors who are on the board of different boards for NaNoWriMo, and they're all upset and are leaving because NaNoWriMo wants to just say, you want to use them? Great. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah. I think it's great. If you want to use AI tools to help you build a better story, why is that a bad thing? I always use incognito when I record just for my own privacy, which disables privacy browser extensions. Yeah, I I don't really I haven't seen a reason to need that. I don't know. I don't have a, but that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know why I can't add that to the broadcast. Something happened with my text. I don't know what's going on there. Well, at least I see a picture. That's cool. All right, let's see what else we got. I thought this was interesting. This is 10 AI dangers and risks and how to manage them. Some of the how to manage them is a little bit light, but I like the fact that they pull together this list of, rather than just saying AI is evil, it's going to kill all the humans, the machines are out to get us, all these types of things that is definitely very popular in kind of mainstream media. This just looks at, okay, here are some risks that you should be aware of, and here's some ways to deal with them. So the first big one, I'm not sure if they are in any order. Here's 10, in no particular, I don't think they're in any particular order, but definitely one of the big ones is bias. So AI models are based on, are trained on material written by humans. And humans can be racist pigs. We can be evil. We can do, say, we at the collective we, all of us. There are some people that will say really nasty things and they will post that online, and a model is based on their information and mine and yours and all this other stuff. Humans can be biased, and so the AI is going to be potentially biased as well. And I think there's a lot of work done to try to make sure that some of the weirdly weird stuff doesn't show up in the model, but stuff shows up. And I remember early on there were examples of like ChatGPT, authors would, or researchers were adding stuff that they knew was absolutely not true. Just to see if they could pollute the model with bogus information. And the next time the model was updated, they saw that the model was suggesting that these things that are just flat out not true, it was suggesting those. So they were able to successfully pollute the model. And so, so there could be a bias in the models intentionally or unintentionally. There's cybersecurity threats. So bad actors can exploit AI to launch cyber attacks. They can use AI tools to clone voices, generate fake identities. We've seen, I'm sure a lot of you have seen examples of this. I get text messages, like I haven't gotten any in a while, but for a while I was getting, every day I would get 2 or 3 text messages from somebody saying, did you take my, when did you want to meet up for that game of golf? Suggesting that we already had a conversation and they're just continuing it, sending this random message to my phone. And with the idea that being that I would say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not Fred, I'm Matt, or, offering this additional information. And then they have like that little bit of a hook, and they can start says, oh, well, you don't remember me? I was with your friend whoever. Says, no, that's not me. Oh, well, here's my picture in case that helps remind you. And they send a picture of this potentially very attractive, if you're a man, there's going to be a very attractive woman. If you're a woman, there's this very attractive man. Says, you don't remember me? And then it's like, oh, wow, I don't remember. I remember you now. And that continues, and you eventually give up a lot of money. So I've been getting a lot of these myself. And sometimes I kind of play along. It's like, oh, who are you? Like, just because I want to see what are they going to say. And then pretty quick, I have a hard time with it because I admit early on that I know. I said, oh, so this is this way of what have I said? Is this a successful way of scamming people out of their money, or is this just a hobby that you do? And they don't ever respond after that when they realize I'm not gonna give them any money. Data privacy issues. So we know that LLMs are based on web. Well, we saw that stuff with where these models are being trained on on information on the web. It's usually sourced by web crawlers scraping and collecting information from websites. And sometimes that information isn't collected with user consent and might contain personally identifiable information. So sometimes the data sources that that model creators are using, well, they kind of grab a little bit of content without really being allowed to. But who knows? Environmental harms. We've definitely talked about this a number of times over the last few days or weeks. And, these AI models, just doing a search on Google takes X amount of power. But doing an AI generation looking for the same information is 10x or 20x or 100x the amount of power required. And then there's water that's used for cooling, and there's all this, there's a lot of resources are used. In fact, there was a talk that was really good about power usage. God, what was it? I remember seeing this at like KubeCon, or was it up in KubeCon or reInvent or something. It wasn't specifically talking about AI. It was just talking about the power usage of, say, Kubernetes or of different types of. Oh yeah, and it was comparing it to how much CO. What's the carbon footprint of like your seat on a flight from San Francisco to New York City? So the overall cost of the overall CO2 footprint of the flight divided by 200 people on the plane. So what is your impact? And then how does that compare with training a model? And how does that compare with running Kubernetes for a year? And it was an interesting chart showing, and I can't remember any of the details, but interesting chart of what's the impact? And this was probably 2-3 years ago. Must be more than that. Yeah, probably 2 years. I don't know, a while back. Study found that training GPT-3 models in Microsoft's U.S. data centers consumes 5.4 million liters of water, and handling 10 to 50 prompts uses roughly 500 milliliters, equivalent to a standard water bottle. Now, one thing about water for cooling, I mean, at the end of the cooling, the water's still there. I don't know if is it polluted? Can the water then be used again? I don't understand what. Yes, water that gets consumed, but can the water then be used or processed or cleaned? It's a little bit different than power, I think. But anyway. Existential risk. So these are more the traditional, what the machines are out to get us. Intellectual property infringement. We kind of talked about that before, where some of these things will grab stuff off the internet. Maybe they're not allowed to. Job losses or job creation, job movement. I've definitely covered that a couple times recently. Lack of accountability. When something goes wrong with the AI, who's responsible? I'm sure there's all sorts of court cases about that. Lack of explainability and transparency. And with all of these things, they have, these few things about take action. Here's some things that you could do. And then misinformation manipulation. So interesting overview of all the big risks when doing anything with AI. let's see. Let's move on to a tool that I had heard about a while back, and I was excited to play around with it. Finally got released. It's called Spotter, or Spotter Studio. Spotter is a larger company doing a bunch of things, but Spotter Studio is really for people like me who create content on YouTube and trying to use AI tools to help make it easier for us to come up with video concepts as well as thumbnail and title. It looks like a pretty cool tool. It's not cheap. It is $50 a month or $300 for the year. I just turned on the trial for this. I'll see what it's like. It's a free 30-day trial. I'm very interested to see if this is interesting. I was hoping to get access to it before, but I couldn't seem to. I'm not that important. But it looks really interesting. Looks at every video you've ever created, can see what has worked for you and what has not worked for you. That data plus the kind of performance data around the channel in general will tailor every recommendation to that creator. Yeah, it just looks really interesting, and playing around with the UI, it's pretty slick. Now, of course, practice of analyzing popular videos on YouTube raises concern about plagiarism. I don't know. I mean, what was the there was like a Wired issue a while back about remixing, and it was talked a little bit about remixing in music, but it also talked about using different APIs to kind of remix the content, and how that was generally a good thing. Now, I don't know about these specific callouts for plagiarism. I don't know how much they're actually using, but I mean, I was about to say something, but probably doesn't make sense to comment because I have no idea what Harris Brewis did. Oh, James Somerton did, and Harris Brewis accused them of. So, but there's a lot of YouTube recommendations exist around. You should look at how different people are doing things on YouTube, and definitely borrow ideas, borrow, steal, whatever you want to call it. Was it Austin Kleon? Real Artist Steal or something like that. And it's basically talking about, that we all get inspired from different places, and you should definitely look at lots of videos to be inspired to go in different directions. It looks like a really cool tool. $50 a month. It better be really amazing to justify $50 a month. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I pulled this out. I don't really use Pinecone, but I was thinking I'd find more releases, but apparently there's a Pinecone release. And I guess if you use Pinecone, maybe you're excited by that. This actually was interesting. Llama Index. Oh yeah, so this example using Llama Index, and this guy was able to summarize his speaking notes and convert that into a slide deck. And then you download the PowerPoint file, the PPTX file, the zip file with the PowerPoint in it, which looks pretty neat. There's a repo here, which apparently is all the code. I don't know if this is using Anthropic Claude. So that's generating the content of the slides. I wonder how much of it needs Anthropic versus, well, could you do this with Llama? And I don't know. But it looks pretty slick. There was a time I created a lot of slide decks because my previous role, My last role was evangelist for Infra, which turned into KeyPair, which turned into Ollama. But before that, I was the first evangelist at a company called Datadog, and I was there for 8 years. I started that team. But so in that role, I created a lot of slide decks, and I had been an evangelist at previous companies, a company called Yoda, another one called Playster, but also a trainer for OpenText and Capteris and sales engineer at Microsoft. So I've often had the role where I had to create a lot of presentations and deliver them, and something like this could have been really interesting. So it might be neat to play around with. And then, so that was a Llama Index news story, and then this one from LangChain. So I have not touched LangGraph. Did I touch LangGraph? I feel like I might have touched LangGraph. I feel like Harrison gave me a login for it when I was still with Ollama. But it's just this nice studio environment, like drag and drop to create things, and it works with TypeScript, and that's the big news here, is that it's not just Python, it's also on the JS or TypeScript side as well. And this looks really, really slick. I would love to, if anyone has any experience with this, I'd love to hear about it. You use Gamma AI to create presentation slides. Is a very nice experience. Gamma AI, I know I've heard that. In fact, I feel like they've reached out to do a sponsorship. How is it? Oh, yes, you like it. It's a nice experience. A new medium for presenting ideas powered by AI. Wait, is that? That's not like what's his name? Wheezy Waiter. Oh, anyway, okay, this looks pretty cool. Neat. So that's about all the news that I got. You've used it for several presentations. Cool. Yeah. Say I don't haven't played around with it. Haven't had a need to do any presentations in a while. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? Oh, as my daughter would say at that point, oh, fiddlesticks. I love it when she says that. But I have this button that says mark, where I'm supposed to, when I cover a new topic or a question, I mark it, and that way it's easy for me to create the table of contents after the fact. And I didn't touch it. I need to put a big sign, mark. Well, thank you, Tristan, for taking part in the chat room. This was super nice. Anybody else have? Do I have a spot here? What is this thing? Fluff. I've got a video coming out today for the Ollama course that I do. This one looking at embedding. I still need to finish it off. So, you know, I've got most of the script written. I've got the sample code written. I just need to record it and edit. But basically, looking at embedding, how to do embedding, how does the older way that we did when we added embedding support, so embedding models, I'm going to do that for a long time. Ollama added embedding a while back, adding support for nomic embed text and a few others. And then a little bit later on, a couple months ago, added support for batching the embedding, and people were like excited about this. Being able to not just hand off the API a single block of text, but to hand off like an array filled with blocks of text. And that way, the thought was that it's faster, like huge, incredibly faster. Turns out it's not. I mean, it's a little faster, but when you look at the overall time required to embed, a book, it's like half second, compared to 50 seconds to embed all of, say, War and Peace. Half second, or even 200 milliseconds, half of a half second. So a quarter second to savings by batching all those in one request. Kind of crazy. People are very excited. I guess on other platforms, some online platforms that are slower for embedding, that batching makes a big difference. But it's already really fast on Ollama, so I guess it just doesn't really make much sense there. So it covers that. I also have the sample code will also go through each of the embedding models and how does it compare not only the results, but also how long does it take to do the embedding for each of the embedding models that are on Ollama today, as well as Llama 3.1, because some people, before Ollama offered nomic embed text and the other models, people were using Llama 3.1 or Llama 2, I guess at the time, Llama 2 as an embedding model. And it can, but it's not very good, and it's really slow. And so I wanted to show how bad the results are with Llama versus a real embedding model. I'd like to point out a Python library called LLMSherpa. It's worth playing around with. It does very efficient chunking. Python library called LLMSherpa. Sherpa. So here we are. NLmatics. Developer APIs to accelerate LLM projects. I've got a PDF. Is this the one? PDF reader, vector search and RAG with smart chunking. Summarize a section using prompts. Nice. Analyze a table using prompts. Cool. LLMSherpa from NLmatics. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I should probably where's my, I don't have that on there. Okay. I should probably add that over here. That's not it. And then somebody else mentioned gamma, or Tristan mentioned gamma. I still have that open. Cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, as I mentioned, my wife is heading out to have an appointment in downtown Seattle, so she's going to leave in about a half hour. I better go inside to make sure things are all sorted out before, because my daughter and her friend are going to be with me for 2 hours before the friend gets picked up. So I guess I need to pay attention and not let them die. Not that that would happen. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Unless there's any other questions, ask away. Ask a question. No? No questions? Okay. Make sure I'm on the right screen so I'm actually seeing all the questions. I've had that problem where I didn't know there were other questions. Let's see. What's the way of getting to the View YouTube Watch page? Yep. Okay, that's it. Cool. All right, thanks so much for being here. I already said that. Thanks so much for being here. I've got that video coming later today. I've got another video that I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do for on Thursday. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm doing, so last Thursday, I did a video about fine-tuning a bunch of, I wouldn't say mistakes, but things that I have learned since then about the way I did fine-tuning. So I'll do an update version of that video that the Llama team also learned about and I learned about. And so we're going to cover all those things in that video on Thursday. Hopefully it'll have another, that one has blown up. It's now at about 11,000 views, which has gotten so many more views this quickly than any other video I've ever done. It's really spectacular. And yeah, all right. Oh, where'd I go? Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye. End.